Welcome back to another episode of Trading Card History, where we dive deep into picture collectibles' rich journey from the 1800s to today. From baseball to Beatles, from football to fashion, and from pre-war to Pokemon, we will be covering every flavor of cards, the stories around them, and the people that made them happen. Let's resume. Part 8: Death, Taxes, and Baseball Cards. 1970 to 1977. Topps continued their baseball card dominance in the 1970s and revived their basketball line. This was another jump in basketball card manufacturing, so there were a lot of star athletes that needed their rookie card, such as John Havlicek, Walt Frazier, and Lou Alcindor, who later went by the name of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Topps would continue their basketball card sets from 1969 to 1981 without any notable competition. In the major sport off-seasons, the Topps artists and card manufacturers had some downtime, so executives let them get creative and try new things. One set in particular was the Civil War set. This set was originally meant to depict the generals and notable battles, with detailed descriptions on the back as an education for children. But Woody Gelman, the Topps creative director, told his artists to get creative. They decided to focus less on informing children and more on drawing disturbing and gruesome accounts of the battles in graphic detail. Topps manufacturers were hesitant to release it, but eventually gave in. These Civil War cards became a huge hit on playgrounds and sold like a wildfire, despite parents' objections. As Topps began running wild and cementing its monopoly on the market, they developed a whole sports department exclusively for handling card manufacturing. This is the beginning stages of Topps beginning to focus more on the cards than the bubblegum itself. The cards were originally made as a vessel to deliver the gum, but moves such as creating a dedicated sports division were steps towards the stripping of gum from their business model altogether. At the same time that Topps was wising up, so were professional athletes. In the late 1960s, a man named Marvin Miller took over the MLB Players Association and made radical changes to unionize the players and fight for their salaries. His previous job was at the Steelworkers Union and is quoted as saying, "Ball players are as poorly compensated and exploited as any group of blue-collar workers who toiled in a mill or mine." This statement may seem radical, but back in the late 1960s, most players were making less than $20,000 per year, which is equivalent to about $150,000 in today's money. The league minimum in 2024 was $740,000 for reference. $150,000 in today's money versus $740,000 in today's money today. One of his first tasks he worked on was the players' deal with Topps. He was, quote, appalled at the unconscionable structure of the deals, according to author Dave Jamieson. To strong-arm Topps into paying the players for what they were worth, Miller began convincing players not to re-sign with Topps. This put a countdown on the previously invincible Topps executives, as they realized that they had to restructure their deals before the current ones expired, or else they would lose all ability to produce cards. Heated debates between Topps and the Players Union in 1969 got so intense, one of Topps' lawyers had a heart attack and died in the middle of a meeting. The result of these negotiations would change the sport card landscape and the larger sports revenue landscape forever. Topps finally buckled and agreed to double the initial signing bonus from $125 to $250 annually per player. This, however, was chump change compared to the second half of the deal. Topps now had to pay the Players Association 8% on card sales up to $4 million and 10% on all sales above that. To call this deal massive was an understatement. The first instance of group licensing of athletes was born over baseball cards. The deal did not stop there, however. The Players Association also established that every athlete was free to sell their face and likeness to anyone they please, but any team-oriented deals had to go through the association, which is something that we still see today with modern athletes. As soon as these deals were inked, a flood of companies came to baseball looking to put the stars on anything from advertisement to toys. This deal made some players millionaires overnight. Miller was not done with Topps, however. He wanted them to pay for the decades of mistreatment and unethical business practices towards players. He worked an additional deal stating that any player wearing a visible team logo of the MLB would require an additional payment to the league. Topps fought this as hard as they could, which can be seen in the 1970 Topps baseball card set. Whenever visible, Topps used a photo of a player with their ball cap faced upwards to hide the logo to avoid this additional royalty payment. This can be seen with the card of Kurt Hood, for example. These massive restructuring deals with Topps made Marvin Miller the best friend of every single athlete in the MLB. Baseball legend Hank Aaron describes Miller as, quote, as important to the history of baseball as Jackie Robinson, end quote. Miller would be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2019, one of the only people inducted who never played or coached in any professional capacity. While the MLB was milking Topps of its money, they were still the only card manufacturer with an agreement to combine bubblegum with cards. Fleer requested to gain the same permission, but the Players Association denied it, stating it would oversaturate the market. Fleer sued both Topps and the MLB Players Association in 1976 over conspiring against competition in the market and won this suit. Starting in 1981, Fleer was allowed to begin making bubblegum cards alongside Topps.